Share the stream. Are you guys ready to share the stream? Let's
Yeah.
go ahead and I'm gonna do it with you. I'm gonna get my phone. I think we're streaming and we're gonna share. Are you watching online? Go ahead and share. Everybody, let's share together. So we're also streaming on Instagram. Ooh, that's new. People seem to like Instagram a little better than Facebook, which I don't blame them for. So please go ahead and share that. It's been an interesting time learning how to do all the different streaming things. There's always something going on. So there's always a new platform. I haven't figured out how to stream to like I don't know TikTok or whatever, but you can stream there too. You can go live and do all the things. I'm an old lady in that sense, trying to get on the TikToks. How many of y'all on TikTok? Nobody. I guess I'm not the only old lady here. Ow. Okay, I'm kidding. Well, welcome to the Black NewsBeat. Thank you for sharing. Wait for some people to come on in the room. Hi, everyone in Internet Land. We are streaming live. That means you're going to be famous tomorrow, okay? When you come on, when you sit for the show. So we're really excited to be here for this show. This show starts off our political season, so to speak. We have some great guests tonight, and we'll get into that. But so before I get to all of that, welcome back to Women's History Month. Yeah. We have been enjoying ourselves for Women's History Month. We've had some amazing interviews this month. Please go catch them. They've been so awesome. So please, and we'll have some more great women to talk to tonight, right? So we're excited. We are celebrating our faith, past, present, and future. But listen, nothing's really changing because we are in Black Women's History Quarter. Okay, we started in February. February was Black History Month. It is now Women's History Month. And then guess what April is? It is Black Women's History Month. Yeah. And it's also my birthday month, so it's extra special. Okay. Don't you guys definitely need to come to my birthday episode. It's gonna be really lit. Come on and do that. So we also tonight are celebrating something else super special. Black Newsbeat has the distinct honor of kicking off the second annual Good at Heart Festival. Yeah. This is the brainchild of none other than Stuart here at Open Stage. And we have a jam-packed week for you. So we're going to talk about that when we talk about events. And I want to tell you a little bit about the festival. So this is the second annual festival inspired by the Anne Frank quote, "In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart." Okay? For 6 days, we invite you to join us for a powerful journey of thought-provoking theater, eye-opening conversations, and community building experiences. And we have the star of Mary Speaks here tonight, which is one of the performances during Mary, and we'll talk about the rest too. So I also always love to tell you guys about what National Day it is because that's like my favorite thing to talk about. Okay, so guess what's happening today? Anybody know what the first National Day is that I want to tell you about? No idea. It's National Backyard Day. Which I'm kind of sad about because it's cold outside. Okay, so that sucks. It's also National Let's Laugh Day. Very good. See, this is a good group. I like y'all already. It is also National Chocolate Caramel Day, which I like to think was named. Yes, exactly. See, everybody. Yep. Which I like to think was named after me. Thank you very much. And last but definitely not least, it is spring equinox today. Again, we want the wind not to do whatever it's doing, which is making everything like 25 degrees colder. But I'm happy it is spring, and I'm happy to be sharing spring equinox with all of you. Yes, somebody clap, somebody thought. Maybe. So let's check in. Did the groundhog lie? Did Puxatawny Phil lie? Yes, he did. He said it was only going to be 6 more weeks of winter, and here we are in the middle of another winter.
Why are we trusting a groundhog to predict?
Boo! Yes, boo him. Boo that groundhog. Get him out of here. He's really cute, but get him out of here. So we have a really great show tonight. We want to make sure that we big up all the guests that are coming. So when you hear, all of your faves, they're all your faves because they're all my faves. I just want you to give them a round of applause. We have Mary Speaks, star Angela Polite. There she is. There she is. Isn't that a nice picture? Let me just say, sis, your hair is popping. I looked at this hair for like the last 2 days. It's my favorite. We have two PA10 hopefuls. Y'all know what PA10 is? That is our congressional district to the U.S. House. We have two hopefuls candidates running right here in the good old tent. John Broadhurst and Rick Coplen. And we also have a wonderful business owner who is just, there are not too many people that are busier than me, right? And this lady is busier than me. Please welcome to the show, and we're going to hear her great interview tonight, Christine Titih. Yes. I'm so excited to have everyone here. But before we get into our guests, we got some stories to talk about. Let's sweep these streets. Let's see what's going on. Well, it has been quite the week in Harrisburg since we last were together. So last week on the show, I was like getting towards the end, and somebody's like, "What's going on? What is everybody talking about in Harrisburg?" And I was like, "I don't know. I've been doing the show. What happened?" So apparently, two Harrisburg school district employees, one teacher and the other one, a safety monitor officer, could not wait to settle a personal beef outside school last Wednesday. Okay. This led to said teacher and safety monitor coming to blows inside the classroom in front of students on camera. Because you know the kids went like this. Ooh, they fighting. You know how the kids are. Literal world star moments. This brief skirmish, eventually broken up by students and staff, this is ridiculous, okay, led to both the school employees being suspended. Now, admittedly, Harrisburg School District is no stranger to turmoil and controversy, but in a statement given to ABC 27 News, Superintendent Avery, is his first name Avery? I didn't know that. Oh, hey, Superintendent Turman. I thought your name was Eric Turman, but we'll see. Had this to say, this is highly unusual, and it is not at all representative of our faculty and staff who take responsibility as role models for our students very seriously. That was my Eric Turman voice. So, audience members, what do you think needs to happen in this case? What steps are needed to ensure that our kids are immersed in an environment that's positive and inspiring? Chime in here in our live feed and also here in the audience too, because why are the teachers and the security fighting? So wait a minute. The teachers are supposed to be there to teach, right? Yeah. Did I get that right? Okay. Yeah. And then the security is there. I don't always agree with security in school, but there's a lot of special things happening in Harrisburg High. But they fighting each other. All right, well, I guess we'll
learn how to be leaders and not
learn how to be leaders.
Not fall victim to their emotions.
Honey,
they're trying to teach these children.
Honey, I heard one was a pastor. That's what really got me going. So I was like, oh, well, that was interesting. I thought pastors had different de-escalation techniques, but all right. Okay. This is another interesting story. We're going to call this one the Kentucky DEI slash. My goodness. In a move that could make even the most politically correct squirm, the Kentucky House took aim at diversity, equity, inclusion with their pens in the public universities, voting to slash their funding. And everybody's following Florida with this. So Florida, this passed the House and the Senate. And schools like University of Florida and other schools are all cutting out their diversity offices and things at the behest of the Florida government. So there is precedent for this now in these United States. So amid a fiery debate that saw GOP members dismissing DEI efforts as futile and Democrats championing them as vital support for marginalized students, the House passed the bill with a resounding 68-18 vote. The Senate, however, had a different vision, leading to a clash of ideologies. House members didn't just tweak the Senate's version, they bulldozed it, replacing it with a more hardline stance on DEI initiatives. Now, it's up to the Senate to decide whether to accept this makeover. With the GOP holding sway in both chambers in Tennessee, it's a battle royale of political ideologies where even the most ardent supporters of inclusion might need a safe space. Grab your popcorn. This political drama is far from over. So what's interesting about this is, so I do a lot of talks in the region along DEI and things like this. And what I keep telling folks is that diversity, equity, inclusion, ability, belonging, all those words we're putting together for DEI. Do you know what they do? They're the only set of tools and tactics that actually deal with the human resource in all these different places. And they don't deal with just Black or brown folks. They don't deal with just women. They don't deal with just LGBTQ folks. They deal with everyone together and try to understand the intersections of diversity in these different places and how they play out. So when you cut out diversity, you are literally cutting out dealing with that human element and making sure that people are able to serve and to study and to learn as their full selves in these places. So I think it's a travesty what they're doing. What do y'all think? Shocker. Yeah, shocker. And listen, maybe we might talk to some of our political hopefuls tonight about that. Hold on to your swim trunks because Georgia's getting its first water slide coaster and it's making waves at none other than Lake Lanier. With a name like Apocalypso, now do y'all, let me just keep reading. You know you're in for a ride, quite literally. It seems that the folks at Margaritaville aren't worried about Lake Lanier's notorious reputation for swallowing up unsuspected swimmers whole after all. What's a little risk of disappearing into the abyss when you can have the thrill of the ride? From the serpentine storm to the dreamsicle dive, they're really doubling down on tempting fate. It's like they're saying, who needs a lifeguard when you've got the adrenaline rush of impending doom? With 15 slides in the works, it's the kind of investment that screams, hold my sunscreen, I'm going in. So if you're feeling brave or just a tad reckless, grab your floaties and join the party. It's sink or slide time at Lake Lanier. Now, do y'all know what Lake Lanier is?
No.
Somebody tell me what Lake Lanier is. Somebody knows.
Where everybody dies.
Yes, it's literally, one is where everybody dies, and it is also a city in Georgia that was covered up by a lake. And guess what kind of city it was?
Oh, it's one of those cities.
It was an African American town, right? So I have a lot of thoughts, but the first thought is I wouldn't be building no water park. And people literally, I don't know, I would not be building a water park literally on top of a lake where people get literally swallowed whole and disappear and are never found or not found till way later. Not known for that. So sad, but interesting. Let's keep our eye on that because the stories that are about to come on that are definitely going to make it onto the Black News Beat. All right. Let's talk the Market Street Underpass encampment. So the removal of yet another homeless encampment in the city of Harrisburg has exposed serious problems within the city. Another shocker. The most recent relocation occurred last week after crews dressed in hazmat suits worked to clear debris that accumulated under the Market Street Underpass, a very busy section of the city where downtown workers commute to and from daily. Several people walked their cars in a nearby parking lot, and it didn't take long for complaints and worries about public safety to become an issue. In a quote given to Fox 43 News, it's become a nuisance and it's become really dirty. We have so much trash and I think it's unsafe, says Jessica Naves, who walks by the encampment each day as she leaves for work. How do we as a city combat this problem? With local shelters running full and local construction pushing unhoused individuals out, seems local officials have their work cut out for them. Now, this is not the first time we've covered this on the Black News Beat. The last year, the Mulberry Street Bridge encampment was cleared out. They threatened to clear out the PennDOT encampment in a little past Shipoke. There were big issues all over the city with where people were going to go, trying to get them housing, and it seems that it was just a shuffle because a lot of the folks who were not under the Market Street Bridge on overpass now ended up there after this happened last year. So my question to our city and state officials, because what also happened was people passed the blame back and forth. They were like, "Well, it's not us, it's PennDOT. Well, it's not the city, it's such and such." Who is going to take responsibility and who's going to step up and lead to make sure that the most vulnerable in our city are taken care of? That's the question I have. Tick tock. The clock is ticking. So your teen's favorite app, and none of yours apparently, is now on the chopping block. In recent reports, TikTok has come upon the wrath of leftover bipartisanship from the Trump administration as the popular app has the potential of being altogether banned in the United States. Once owned by ByteDance, a company located in Beijing, China, TikTok is no stranger, owned by ByteDance, it's no stranger to controversy when it comes to international security issues. But this time around, it appears that ByteDance may, in fact, be bitten or at least have a lot to chew on, a long, drawn out court battle. Time will tell if the app remains popular among its approximately 1.7 million users. Until then, keep posting twerk and dance videos, short films and clips. And you can go up to 10 minutes because they do pay pretty well. They pay better than Facebook, I can tell you that for sure. Odd testimonies and skits, but also use it as a tool to help create change and get out there this election year and vote for sure. One of the things that I think is really crazy, so the House could pass a ban on TikTok, but y'all haven't forgiven these student loans. So y'all could pass a ban on TikTok, but healthcare is very hard. So y'all could pass a ban on TikTok, but making sure that women's rights are protected, that's just elusive. So where are the priorities? And I want to make sure I say on this program, I'm not trying to cater to our Chinese overlords, but TikTok is not the problem, because are you afraid that your data is going to fall into the hands of a nefarious organization like a Beijing analytics company, and they're going to use that data to affect our elections and sow enmity amongst the people in the United States? Is that what we're afraid of? Because that's already happened. Hashtag Facebook and Cambridge Analytica. So TikTok is not the problem. It's whatever type of control they think they do or do not have over TikTok in this country. And honey, listen, if they need to ban anything, go ahead and ban Facebook. Go ahead and do that. Listen, the old folks are like, don't ban Facebook. That's the one we know. Don't ban that one. Next up, we are into media and melanin. This is one of my favorites. So let's go ahead and talk about some of my favorite things happening in the world of media and melanin. Starz has unveiled, Basir's gonna like this one. Starz has unveiled the fourth expansion of the Power universe, with its prequel series Origins still in development, promising a fresh take. It aims to uncover the origins of the beloved characters Ghost and Tommy, leaving fans eager to delve deeper into their backstory. The announcement came hot on the heels of news about the final season, Power Book 2 Ghosts, slated for a summer premiere, ensuring fans remain on the edge of their seats. Currently, Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, is bustling with its fourth season shoot in New York, while Power Book 4, Force, is causing a ruckus in Chicago with its third season filming. Sasha Penn is at the helm as the executive director for Origins, while the original series mastermind Courtney A. Kemp will continue her reign over the Power Universe series. With so much drama in the making, it's like they're generating power both on and off the screen, electrifying audiences worldwide. Now, full disclosure, I did not like any of the Powers. Basir, did you like the Powers? He liked most of them. He's doing this now, but I was subjected to Power for a long, long time. Ooh, it's too much. It's too much. Okay? It's too many books. I like reading, but why are there 9 books on this? I don't know. Yes, absolutely. And you know what? Okay, I got it. Black Godfather. We get it. Power. But it's too much. At this point, I'm tired. Okay? And now we got to go back and learn about Ghost and Tommy. I feel like they were already central characters. What else is there to know? Okay? But they're going to make something up. We know a lot about Tommy. We already know. Yeah. So, and see that? I like that. See the talk back? It's my favorite. You already love it. All right. So let's move on to Naomi Campbell, the iconic trailblazer of the fashion world that has shattered glass ceilings left and right, from gracing the cover of Time, French Vogue, to British Vogue as the first Black model. After 4 decades of runway domination, she's now gearing up for another first, her very own exhibition. Naomi in Fashion at the Victoria and Albert Museum promises to chronicle her legendary journey throughout the lens of style, showcasing around 100 jaw-dropping looks and accessories. Now, I heard Naomi was absolutely a mean girl, but she always looks fierce. That is a true story. From Chanel to Versace or Versace, because I don't know how to say that. The exhibit boasts pieces that have defined eras and turned heads. Picture a 1989 Mugler corset that could double as a car part, or those unforgettable Vivienne Westwood platforms that famously met the runway floor in 1993. With Campbell, it's not just about fashion, it's a saga of glamour, gravity-defying stumbles, and undoubtedly diva-level fierceness. Absolutely. Get ready to strut down memory lane one stiletto at a time. I can't wait to see this. Like, first of all, she is so iconic, and she's also done. She's led a quiet life in the last few years, but she's also done a lot of good work with her life as well. So it's going to be cool to see her immortalized in this way with her own exhibit in a museum. That's pretty cool. It's really cool. Y'all know we got to talk about Freaknik, okay? Because a documentary is coming out, okay? The white folks in the audience may be like, what is Freaknik? It's okay. It's okay. We're still going to talk about it. All right. Hulu's latest documentary, Freaknik, The Wildest Party Never Told, promises to take viewers on a wild ride through Atlanta's most infamous street bash. If you were one of the brave souls caught up, one of our writers said, oh, I hope I'm not in the video. I was like, now, wait a minute. I know who said it, honey. I'm not gonna tell on them, but I know who said it. They may also be here. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, a bunch of people's mamas. Listen, the over 40 crowd has a lot of spending to do. Woo! Okay. So, if you were one of the brave souls caught up in the chaos of Freaknik, brace yourselves. You might just spot your younger, wilder self on screen. From gridlock traffic to impromptu public displays that would make even the boldest blush, no scandalous moment is spared. Ooh, Hulu is diving into the deep end, honey. Because it was wild on them streets. If you've never been to a Freaknik, it was wild. But it's not all about the scandal. The documentary dives into the origins of Freaknik, tracing its humble beginnings as a college cookout to a nationwide phenomenon that put Atlanta on the map as a cultural hotspot. How did Hotlanta happen? Freaknik. With appearances from Killer Mike, CeeLo Green, and other icons, get ready for a trip down memory lane filled with laughter, nostalgia, and perhaps a few cringe-worthy flashbacks. So grab your popcorn and prepare to relive the wildest party that history almost forgot. Listen, those video cameras is out. Nothing is lost, okay? Nothing is lost. And we made it through our first two segments. Woo, look at y'all. This is my favorite part of the show because I get to brag on Open Stage and I get to brag on YPOC because the Black NewsBeat, as you see it here today, is a partnership between the Young Professionals of Color Greater Harrisburg and Open Stage Atlanta. If you didn't know, we're in our fourth season. Ask me how that happened. And I'm always going to blame it on Gib because Gib was the one who said, you should have a show. So it's his fault. So we're all there. We call this this segment, There's Nothing to Do in Harrisburg, because people always complain there's nothing to do. So let me introduce you to some things to do at Open Stage and with YPOC and in other parts of the city. So we have YPOC Happy Hour. This month is at Creative Studios in Harrisburg. So please, on the last Thursday of this month, come hang out with us. We'll be at Creative Studios I forget exactly what the address is, 19th Street, thank you, right next to the Aruga's Kitchen. Yes. So I thought that was interesting. There's like their master kitchen lab place. So it's literally right next door to there. And check out a little bit of the art scene there and have a little libations and meet some new people. So come hang out with us. We are also still getting ready for Juneteenth. Our retreat is coming up. We have a week-long slate of events for Juneteenth, by the way. You gotta come hang out. We have a concert. We have a conference. We can finally confirm that our keynote speaker for our Juneteenth summit, we're transitioning to summit because that's cooler. We are going to have Angela Rye in Harrisburg on June the 18th. So we are very excited about that. I paid the deposit this week and baby, it was hefty, but we're going to get her here. Okay. Juneteenth, and we also have a retreat coming up in August. The first weekend in August, we steal away to a beautiful bed and breakfast in Bethany, Pennsylvania, Black owned. Shout out to Auntie Monique Greenwood, she's amazing. And they treat us to a wonderful time. We rent the whole place out. So if you're interested in coming, look for more information on our website and on Facebook. We would love to have you. It is a beautiful weekend. We have a beautiful time of rest, relaxation, and just having a good time. We hang out. So come hang out with us. We're also going to be working on our Adopt a Classroom Gala, and we do have a little Adopt a Classroom update. After oh my gosh, we haven't had a gala since 2019. Wow, time flies. So the year before the pandemic was our last, was it 2019, Ben? Yeah, on the rooftop. It was our last gala, and we have been struggling to get back since. And we have a great proposal on the table for a gala from our Adopt a Classroom committee. So we're not going to spoil the surprise, but we want you to support. We actually just gave out all of our Adopt a Classroom packages this week. After some fits and starts, but we are happy to report that all the classrooms got funded, and the teachers and all their stuff is on the way. We got all kinds of cool projects happening in the STEAM Academy, in Harrisburg School District, all over the city with our schools. So thank you guys to those of you who gave, those of you who bought a ticket to the Roots concert. Yes. All of that money went towards adopting classrooms, getting teachers those extra things they need to make their classrooms awesome. So thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And not to be left behind are all of our open stage events this week. Remember, we are in the Good at Heart Festival, right? Good at Heart Festival 2024. You're at the opening event, and that is Black NewsBeat with Dr. Kimeka Campbell, okay? Yeah, thanks. I like that. I like when you guys clap for me. Thank you. On March the 20th, which is tomorrow, and the 21st and the 22nd is The Diary of Anne Frank. It's going to be presented at the Scottish Rite Theater at 9:45 a.m. March 20, 21, and 22 at 12:15, a Holocaust presentation presented at the Scottish Rite in Harrisburg, 12:15 midday. Thursday, March 21st at 7:30 p.m., The Diary of Anne Frank, also at Scottish Rite. March 22, 23, 27, 28, and 29 at 7:30, we have Mary Speaks presented at Open Stage. Yep. And then that's going to be at 7:30, and then March 24th and 30th at 2 p.m., we're going to have Mary Speaks also presented at Open Stage. Yes. Plus
the extension
of Sweeney Todd. Yes.
Just a couple more days of that.
Yep.
But then we also have another erotic fan fiction.
EFF in April. Yep. We had to sacrifice that for Sweeney Todd. Shout out to Brad, who is feeling much better. The leading dude of Sweeney Todd. And David
stepped in and killed
it. All we heard was how David stepped in and killed it. How he rocked it out. He was real good. So all you saw, like my phone started blowing up. Like he's great. He was amazing. And we are happy that is going smashingly well. If you haven't seen it, there are 2 extra dates left.
Yeah, 3. What do you have? Like 2 more shows?
2 more shows, right? I think it's 2 more. Is it 3? They couldn't have been at theater tonight, which is fine with me. Yes, so if you haven't seen it, and you can snag a ticket, because it's been pretty close to sold out every single show. So if you haven't seen it, snag a ticket, and also support Open Stage. Become a part of the Inner Circle. I always say Open Circle, which is not right, but Inner Circle, and support the great work that's going on at Open Stage. You can support shows like the Black NewsBeat and all the things I just mentioned, and also come out for the Good at Heart Festival. It's always very good. Okay, well, did y'all enjoy that? Good. We have a wonderful full slate of guests for you, so we will be right back with our first guest. We'll see you in a second.
My name is DeJuan Dixon. I'm known as Juan99, they call me, and I am the founder and CEO of 99 Characters Entertainment. As you know, with the internet TV, Roku has expanded up to 50 million subscribers at the moment, and that's where we give our channel for Try 99 TV for our viewers and for our platform and talents. We host mashups to roasts to puppet shows, community events. We pretty much do everything from touring to local events. We really have a vast majority of different shows. Our content creation group is our collaborative network where we come together as a barter system, and we use different companies partnering together, and we use that avenue to give each other more for our dreams and our goals.
Well, welcome back to the Black News Beat. We have a wonderful, wonderful lineup for you tonight. Please welcome my first guest, Mr. John Broadhurst.
Thank you.
He is running for the Pennsylvania's 10th district, which is our seat in the House of Representatives for our region. Woo, big job, big job. So, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Yes, I heard.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it is my pleasure. It really is. This is probably one of my favorite parts of getting to do the show is getting to talk one-on-one with political candidates. This is probably our 20th or 25th interview. So I don't know which one else I would have made you feel more special, but it is a wonderful thing to have you guys. Thank you for being willing to come.
Thank you.
And be in the hot seat. Dun, dun, dun. Not really. So you are running for Congress in the 10th district. First, tell us why.
I'm running because I think we're headed for a crisis, a very serious political crisis in the United States. And I've witnessed, I think like many people who watch your show, the rightward shift in the American political landscape over the past 40 years. Now, I can say 40 years, you're much younger than I, but you've noticed this also. And this rightward shift took the culmination in 2016 with the election of our second president in only 2 decades, who won the office of the White House, of the presidency, but yet lost the popular vote. So in my view, he was an illegitimate president from the very beginning. And so I want to do my part to help, actually help the United States reignite or become more faithful to the progressive ideals, I think, that really made America a great country. And I think even certain currents of the Democratic Party have abandoned the progressive ideals. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Interesting. So what are your progressive ideals? When you say progressive ideals, what does that embody for you?
Well, I think as everyone of color know, people of color know that part of American history was tinged very seriously with racism and a history of attempts to disenfranchise not only the Black community, but in particular the Black community. And so the United States history is a fight constantly against that very heavy weight of history. And so that's the first thing. Opening up, if we have an open society, we must have an open democracy and a representative democracy. And I think actually what we have today is an unrepresentative democracy. And so we know that, for example, with the Senate apportionment, that very small states have an outside influence in political outcomes. We know that the influence of money in political campaigns really puts a pretty downward pressure on new and emerging voices who are not from privilege, who maybe don't have money, who don't have access to political elites and political establishment. So I think we have to breathe new life into the American, basically, democratic experiment. And that came under a lot of pressure under the presidency of Donald Trump, and is still under pressure today.
Absolutely. And tell the voters what they can expect from you as their congressman.
Well, first of all, I have to win the primary. And I think we're gaining strength. We're getting a lot of momentum at just the right time. If I am the nominee, first of all, I can guarantee you a lot of fun. We're going to have fun for the 7 months run to the general election in November. This is going to be an unapologetic, happy, and hopeful campaign. But if I am the nominee and I win the election in the fall, I want to really be the representative of the people. And I know that sounds like a cliche, but I think that when I say getting back in touch with our progressive ideals, that means the Democratic Party must be the representative of working class people. And so I come from a family, my father was a truck salesman, and I'm one of 11 children, an Irish Catholic family. No jokes from the audience, please.
It was just, St. Patty's Day. A historical day for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and so I took part in the parade and had a lot of fun. But no, I think obviously the Democratic Party, if it exists at all, is to be the representative of normal Americans. And the vast majority of Americans are working class. It's just that today, working class people often don't wear overalls and dirty jeans. They work in mid-level management, low-level management at a Comcast or any large corporation. So the way we look and conceive of working class people has really changed a lot. But the vast majority of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And it's really an effort to remind our political establishment of that.
Absolutely. And so what in your, so before I go, I was going to go to the next question, but I have a follow-up question to that. What do you say to people who then say, well, you've been saying the Democratic Party is a party of this and a party of these ideals and workers and all these different things. But there is a growing discontent with the Democratic Party on all sides, right? You've got voters who are Black, brown, white voters, young, definitely older voters who used to be Democrats. Here in central Pennsylvania, for a long time, folks were jumping ship and registering as Republicans in large numbers, much larger numbers than people who were registering as Democrats. So when you say the party should be the party of these things, why is it not, from your estimation? And what do you also say to folks? This is like a 75-part question, but it's okay. What do you also say to folks who say, well, not only is the Democrats aren't, but they never have been historically. You hear this a lot. And it's really the Democrats who were for slavery and didn't really privilege workers' rights and didn't really help people. And we hear this all the time. We hear this as a constant counter to exactly what you're saying. So how do you respond to that?
Well, that's a pretty long and complex question. Yes. It really forces us
whatever you want to answer.
No, it's good. We have to have these type of conversations. And it's true that historically, the Democratic Party was the party of voter suppression. So if you look at the period from the Civil War era through Reconstruction up until really 1957, the Democratic Party was a party of disenfranchisement that made every effort to disenfranchise African American voters. So that's part of the tortured legacy of one of our major parties. That's not the case today. The Democratic Party is not the party of voter suppression today. Although I have to say that one of my opponents tried to get me eliminated from the ballot by issuing a challenge.
Tell us about that.
In effect, to get me off the ballot. Well, this happens pretty regularly in American political history. Unfortunately, it's sort of like the footnotes that not many people realize. But I had to, like all the candidates, secure 1,000 signatures. And I was petitioning in really everywhere across the district. In Harrisburg, I spoke to and petitioned a lot in African American communities. And in particular, in communities that are really suffering, really, really struggling, and including the projects. And so oftentimes I met with people who I don't think they'd met with many Democrats recently or coming to their neighborhoods. And I think many of them were kind of surprised that a white guy with a boxy head and gray hair turned up and expressed some interest in their life. And so one of my opponents wanted to get me off the ballot. And I think he saw me as a direct competitor and threat. But I don't want to talk too much about that. But getting back to your question, so it's true that in the course of my campaign, I meet with people all the time, Black and brown, people who are affluent, people who are struggling, young voters in particular, who are I won't say apathetic, because apathetic suggests that they just don't care.
Yeah.
These are people who actually do care, but feel that nothing changes. Mm-hmm. And many of them feel that Democratic Party doesn't really have deep convictions, mm-hmm. and don't make an effort. And on the other side, they think that the Republican Party is just batshit crazy. But we'll go to the mat and we'll fight to get another regressive tax cut for the richest.
Well, people think the tax cuts and these things, they're painted as though they benefit regular. Well,
I think, yeah, but that's sort of.
And it's not true, but that's how it's painted.
Yeah, well, that's one of the biggest lies that we all have to come to terms with, and it's the lie of trickle-down economics that you know all about, and it's really other people might refer to it as neoliberalism. And
Keynesian economics.
Yeah, Well, not Keynesian, because Keynesian is really the model of the federal government has a role to play. And when there are crises in the economy, the federal government should be investing in public goods. Whereas trickle-down economics is basically the myth that if you give rich people tax cuts, if you're constantly prodding them with tax cuts, that eventually the benefits will trickle down to the working class. And the working class people should be grateful. And we should therefore praise rich people. So it's sort of like it's an economic theory. It's also a moral theory. Right? And it's all nonsense, because the reality is, and I think most people understand this, but you got to speak about it honestly, very directly. The reality is that the American economy is, GDP is about 69, almost 70% of it is consumer spending, right? And consumer spending is largely what you and I and everyone watching the show spends on a regular basis, right? So if I have an extra $100 at the end of the month, maybe I'll go to see a movie, or I'll go to a restaurant, or I don't know, give my daughter a little extra money for whatever, right? If elderly people who are living on fixed income have a little extra money, they maybe give it to their children, their grandchildren, help people, right? But if you are, if you're extremely wealthy, and you're not going to just accumulate extra boats or go on that extra trip. So consumer spending relies on all of us having what economists call disposable income, a bit of extra cash. And so what happens is when the middle class and the working class are squeezed and life becomes so hard, just making ends meet, then there is no disposable income. And as a result, you have the economy slowly starting to retract. So that inhibits economic growth. And as a result, job creation.
Hashtag eat the rich. Absolutely. Because when they don't have anything else to eat, what are they going to eat? Okay. If you shrink the economy that much. Now, this is the Black NewsBeat. So we're going to ask you some questions about that, about this population that we serve. So what changes, or what's your plan for policies and at least stances, right? Because policy is hard to affect in this country. We see it all the time. There's roadblocks, there's just that. But what is your plan? You talked about going into the projects, you know, and I want to say this for viewers and the audience. Going into the projects is nothing new. These folks always come around during election time, so this is not different. But I want to know, what plan do you have that would truly impact our BIPOC communities in PA10, and also BIPOC communities, our LGBTQ communities, and really communities that are noted in this district for being at the forefront of they are living paycheck to paycheck. They are not seeing benefits and seeing the economy go their way under our current leadership at all levels of government. What can be done at your level to help affect the lives of BIPOC folks in particular, and then all parts of the society for people who are struggling?
Yeah, well, I think it's another very good question. I think changing policy at the federal level is like changing the direction of a big ship. It doesn't happen overnight. So there are incremental changes that can be made. So one of the things that really affects people of, I should say, lower income levels who are really struggling is medical debt. So we know that in the United States today, we have a little over $200 billion of medical debt, private medical debt. And it's the number one cause of personal bankruptcy in the United States, which disproportionately affects people of color. I think, and I'm the only one taking this position, that medical debt should be eliminated entirely. There's no moral justification for medical debt. No one in France or Great Britain or Germany or Italy, Spain, it's a long list of countries, Finland, Sweden, etc., goes into medical debt because medical coverage is considered a public good. So I think medical care, healthcare should be a public good. And that means that it should be provided through a single payer, federally backed program. And so far, I'm the only candidate who's taken that position in this campaign. So those are two issues right there.
And so that we can keep moving. And if folks were to vote for you, if they had to vote for you today, what is the number one issue that you think they should know as they head into the polls. As they head into their voter education period, as I like to call it, getting to know these candidates.
Well, that is a tricky one.
Yeah.
One particular issue.
Because
Well, I think I
I'm
have.
saying one particular is
Yeah.
because a lot of people are, whether we like it or not, one issue voters. So what is the thing that
Okay, well
you
then
want
one
people to
issue
know?
voters, but we have several categories of voters.
Yes, we do.
So for some voters, that single issue may be healthcare coverage.
Yep.
For other voters, and I encounter this all the time here in the district, it's housing. So we have a housing crisis in the United States, which again disproportionately affects low-income people who are constantly squeezed. And one of the factors of this, first we have high mortgage rates. So the Federal Reserve has really taken the exclusive responsibility of fighting inflation. So the Biden administration has really not done anything in terms of regulatory oversight or taxes as a means of fighting inflation. It's just the Federal Reserve. And so this makes mortgages more expensive. It makes car payments more expensive. Many people in low-income households rely on their credit cards just to survive. And so they're being pushed into usury, extremely high interest rates if they don't pay on a monthly basis. And we know this, and these interest rates can be 20, 25, 30%. So the federal government can, and the Congress can offer legislation to cap interest rates on credit card debt, because the Wall Street and the credit card industry wants new people to go into debt.
Hashtag Elizabeth Warren should have been president. Just what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean,
Because she came up with this bureau to actually address this. But anyway.
she did, and she did a fantastic job.
She did.
And she was opposed by Democrats
Yes,
along
she
the way.
was.
So the problem is not, we can't say that the Republicans are to blame entirely.
No. you cannot.
And in fact, in some,
And Black people don't say that. We see very clearly, especially Black Democrats, we see very clearly that the Democrats are the problem. And I'll speak specifically for myself. Again, these views are not the views of Open Stage or YPOC, but Black and brown folks absolutely know that the Democrats are a problem for their communities. They're a problem for their individual selves. They're a problem for families and business and a whole bunch of things.
well, I think you're right. I agree with you. Last night, for example, we had a candidate forum here in Harrisburg, and for the first time, we had predominantly African-American audience. It wasn't a large group, but there must have been at least 95% of the people were African-American. And so very different questions, very different tone, and I think a higher degree of skepticism. And so, I recognize this, but but in that African-American Democrats are, in that case, not different, or not very different from working class white Democrats, who also do not have confidence in the Democratic Party. Many of them feel that Democratic Party has no convictions and will not stand up for working class people. And so we mentioned earlier what has brought us to this. I think we saw during the 1990s, particularly under the Bill Clinton administration, when the Republican Party became outright obstructionist party and bipartisanship was impossible. That Bill Clinton, in order to exist and get any legislation done, adopted really the Republican initiatives that George Bush I would have initiated had he won his reelection. And we've seen this since, but with ebbs and flows throughout that process. So this is what I mean by getting back to the ideals of the progressive movement.
Excellent. So, all right, last, the very last question. Why should people vote for you?
I think people should vote for me. One, because I'm addressing causes of the crisis and not just consequences. And the causes are, the causes what led to MAGA. So if you want to beat the MAGA movement in the fall, you have to address the causes. These causes are extreme economic inequality. We're more unequal today than we've been since the Gilded Age in the 19th century. The disastrous failure of 20 years of forever wars. This has been absolutely disastrous, whether it's Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Yemen, now in Gaza, southern Lebanon. I could go on, but you get the point, right? And then the third thing is a lack of political accountability. Just a lack of accountability in the broad sense in American society. So when these three things come together, as they have over the past 20 years, it leads to feelings of resentment, alienation, hate, xenophobia, racism. And these are the feelings that really fuel extremism. So unless we address the causes, we'll be dealing with this again and again and again. And you'll have this conversation with someone much younger than me in 30 years' time. And so I don't want to see that happen. And this is the reason why I'm running. So I think the reason why I want people to vote for me, and I think I'm confident I can win, is because we're building, I think, the most diverse coalition of any candidate in the race. Because when I speak to people, I'm assessing the reality of American life. And I think I'm really the only candidate who's taking very bold positions. Now, you may not agree with all my positions, but we have to talk about this. So if America is a family, we have to recognize that we're a dysfunctional family, right? We have a batty uncle who comes in drunk. We have kids who are unruly. You get the point. You see what I mean? So public policy, and we're talking about our direction as a country, we have to be intellectually honest. The problem is that we have on the right, no intellectual honesty is possible. So that is very bad because in effect you end up with one party and the whole conformist mentality can just rebuild again. So we have to allow progressive voices. Progressives have to win. And I think in this race, although the district historically has skewed conservative, I think people do believe in progressive values. When I talk to people on a policy level, no one tells me, oh, Granny doesn't deserve to be on Social Security.
Right.
Uncle, he should be deprived of Medicare.
Right.
And we should privatize all public education and not invest in infrastructure. So if we would do all this, if you were to actually adopt the right-wing fanatic dream, America would end up within just a few weeks, like a pile of rocks. We'd be at each other's throats. So I'm just trying to be very truthful and honest and propose what I think are really concrete solutions for working class people who represent the majority.
Absolutely. Well, this has been an enlightening conversation. I really appreciate talking to you. Thank you for coming tonight. Will you stick around for a few moments?
I'd be very happy. But no cultural questions? What's happening, pop culture? I thought you were going to quiz me on.
Pop culture, no. We did our pop culture in the beginning. No, I'm serious. I really am happy. It's really good to get to know you. Like, I'm glad to hear you surprise me, I will say. So thank you for coming.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. I'm very happy to be here. And thank you for your very generous reception here tonight.
Absolutely. Mr. John Broadhurst.
Thank you.
And he's going to stick around for a few moments and we talk to you guys. And we'll be right back with our next guest.
Call 911. I'm just gonna apply some pressure, okay?
When minutes matter, you have the power to save a life. Learn more at minutesmatter.upmc.com.
Well. We are back. We have quite the lineup here. So we are going to jump right into it. Please welcome my next guest, Mr. Rick Coplen.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Another candidate for PA10, and we have lots of questions, but we are not going to take all night because I guess John likes to talk. Okay.
Great questions.
Thank you.
Questions.
I know the questions
as
were
always.
thought-provoking. I know. Thank you very much. Shout out to Maria. Sorry, Maria, I didn't get to ask all your questions because, again, some people like to talk. I'm not going to mention who it was. Just kidding. It was a good interview. I have had the pleasure of interviewing you before.
Yep.
So the first question I'm asking you is, What's different from the last time? Why are we running again?
So, number one, let me say thank you very much, Kimeka, for having me back
my pleasure.
again. I had to check on my phone. It was the 13th of September when I was last here.
Oh, wow.
And I remember I told you all about my mom.
Yep, you did.
And I kind of opened with, you know what? I may look like the standard white guy, but I'm really not, because I'm half Mexican American and I come from that tradition.
Yeah.
And I was looking for the DEI question, but because my mom taught me that
Yeah.
from the very beginning.
Uh-huh.
In other words, I didn't need to go to school to learn the importance of diversity.
Yeah.
So clearly that's something I want to talk about,
Of course.
but I know you want to talk about. So
I mean,
what's
no,
different?
Yeah.
And I
So
think
what's different from last time, and then we're going to get
so.
right to the
Last time being 2022.
Yes.
So I have had this question before, and I'm quick to highlight. You know what? I'm learning all the time. I'm listening all the time.
Mhm.
And you've heard me. In fact, I'm thinking on the 13th of September, I was just going to Allison Hill again.
Yeah.
I had been doing that a lot in 2020 and in 2022, I should say, and learning. And among other things, I highlight, well, you know what? Of all the candidates, I'm the only Democrat that's actually won in a Republican district, beating all the Republicans as the top vote getter. And I think it's primarily because of the job that I do as a school board member, but I've gained the trust of Democrats, independents, Republicans. So, but I really do want to talk to you a lot about how and what I've learned from listening to folks, knocking on doors. I continue to go out with African Americans by my side in Allison Hill, also in York, also in the Carlisle area. So, but
Okay.
so that's a start.
I like it. I like the start. So we're going to go right to the D. What do you want to tell us about DEI?
So I think my real point is, number one, I wholeheartedly believe in the importance of that. And I know I conveyed this before, Kimeka, is that, and this is what my mom taught me. And I told you the story. I won't go through the whole story this time about how her and her family faced discrimination at a public swimming pool in McAllen, Texas. And her brilliant grandfather, my brilliant grandfather, her father, who was actually just a cattle rancher, said, you know what? He didn't get mad. He actually put together a economic boycott in that town of, quite bluntly, the white businesses.
Sound pretty mad to me. I like that.
Yeah, and it wasn't long before the white people, the black people, the Hispanic people were all swimming together in that pool. So, of course, my mom taught me, you know what, Rick? And I had this, of course, from the very beginning. Treat people fairly, treat people equally, treat people as they should be treated. And I also highlight, I have served in the military, I've served in my community, but most importantly, Scott Perry, the person who we all agree needs to go away, has actually, thank you, Scott Perry has actually in the last several months voted against a bill for DEI instruction in the military. And I can tell you very bluntly, I have seen the blood of an American soldier wounded in combat, but more importantly, I've seen the brilliance of American soldiers, men, women, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, working together to get something done in the most challenging circumstances.
So then why do you think that people are all up in arms about DEI? What's the reason? Why is our Congress up in arms about it?
So
different state Congresses, like what is the problem?
it's a cultural war issue that the Republicans have latched onto, just like.
What is the cultural war? What is it?
So, well, there's all sorts of things, but my bottom line on this issue is that the Republicans, Scott Perry being at the top of the list, Donald John Trump, the worst president in the history of the United States, you know, are all about, hey, how do we divide and conquer all of us, as opposed to the Democrats, or at least some Democrats, certainly myself. It's all about unity. It's all about community. It's all about bringing people together. So I think, you know, that they think, the Republicans think it's a winning issue. And in some things it has been. It's like, you know, I think we talked about before the whole critical race issue, which is a nonsense issue for them to bring, because I'm on the school board. We don't teach critical race theory, but we do teach American history, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I'm proud to say, I think since we were last talking, we voted for an African American AP Studies course as available for all of our students. You know, meanwhile, in Georgia or Florida or somewhere, you know, they're getting the national news because some governor down there, I won't mention his name, you know, is essentially saying, oh, this is terrible. Meanwhile, here in Carlisle, we're passing that. We're making that available to all of our students, as well as financial literacy. But
absolutely,
it's very important. I'm sure, hopefully I'm conveying that, and that I believe we got to come together for a whole host of issues. But
Another question I like to ask candidates, because folks like to come get up here and tell me how they went to the hood. Everybody, I went to the projects. I went to Allison Hill. We get it, guys.
Yep,
We totally get it.
Yep. Understood.
But one of the things I'm not hearing from candidates, and what I think is people get all the candidates, especially white men, they get in front of the black people and they're like, why don't you, I want to tell y'all I went to Allison Hill. Cool. But we live in a very diverse district, right? And so how do you propose as a leader, as an elected official, or elected hopeful in this district, to not just serve each part of the district, right? But help residents and your would-be constituents across different parts of the district understand why this district can come together to meet their needs, because that's what's missing.
Right. So the first thing that I think about, I go to community. I think about community groups, and I do think, yes, there's a wide divergence, and clearly there's a huge difference between what's going on in York and what's going on in Harrisburg and Allison Hill and other places. But what I'm always highlighting that I think, number one, I'm listening, and I think I'm pretty damn good at that, and understanding, and then working with people to solve problems. And that clearly, the thing that I always hold up, Kimeka, that I believe is the common ground is our children, and to think about the future. And that's not only, it's for a whole wide range of things. Like, I remember you and I, it was probably like last August, went to the William Penn School conversation for about 3 hours. And I heard very clearly a lot of people very frustrated with that situation, very frustrated with the school and the lack of educational opportunities. That's a problem across all of our district. But what I also heard was real pride in the community and real pride in what that school had been. So the point I'm making is, you're asking essentially, how do you provide a greater unity? How do you get people to come together? Well, it's difficult, but I firmly believe,
and not just
focus
for the
on
sake of unity,
the
right?
children.
Not just
To get things done.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the fundamental reason I'm running. And John and I both agree, and many of us agree, that we are in a crisis. The way I like to put it is, the storm is coming, particularly since Donald Trump's now the nominee of the Republican Party. So there is a crisis coming toward us, and it's the crisis of democracy.
But we are living in a perpetual state of crisis.
Right.
This crisis is not new.
Fair.
And particularly for Black and brown bodies and disadvantaged bodies in this district. We don't have to go outside of PA, Tennessee to right? We lived through a Donald Trump. If you see now the folks who are supporting Donald Trump from the Black and brown communities at 15% higher than they did the last time.
Which is
why would that be a real thing that's happening, right? Because one, from my estimation, folks do not have confidence that leaders on any side of the aisle are going to do the thing. They're not confident, obviously, in Joe Biden. It's an obvious thing. They're not confident in some of our state leaders. They weren't confident in Trump.
So my 2 cents on that is, why are they not confident? And I'm hearing the same things at doors. I've heard same places, bottom line is, people say, nobody's listening to us. Nobody's taking action to help us. So I see that, I hear that, I get that. So what I'm also highlighting is, I'm running not only to stand up to that wave, but also to say, hey, you know what? We need to make our government work for all of us again. And how do we do that? John had some good points. I obviously believe we need to focus on a government of, by, and for the people, not government of, by, and for special interests, big money interests, corporate interests. So that's a problem. But
I mean, again,
but we got
these things are going to be there. Big money is going to be there.
For the short term. In the longer term, we could do away with that as an issue. But I got it. It's not happening in 2024
or 2044.
Well, come on, Kimeka.
Listen. You've been on this earth long enough. How long has special interest been a part of this game?
Probably forever.
Right.
However, what we've got to do is empower people like you and I and everybody that's here tonight, and the people that are telling us, I am so frustrated because it doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't matter that's the real problem, is they think it doesn't really matter who the congressperson is, because we can't get stuff done.
Because we can't get the ones out of office who aren't doing good things for us.
But that's why we're here working so hard to get rid of Scott Perry, to make sure Donald Trump, so that we can do, bottom line is, I think we have a brilliant democratic system. Okay, it may not be perfect, but we got to make it work
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
And we need the right people to do that. We need experience. We need expertise. We need people that care. And that's one of the things I highlight all the time is, I've got experience, I've got expertise,
Yeah.
and I care.
Yeah.
And so, well, I think I told you the story before. I don't need to tell you where again, but I'm walking up. I mean, I'm on
street,
Pizza Bowl. I have a little piece of pizza on Market Street.
What kind of pizza?
Oh, it had to be like the Meat Lovers, really good.
From where?
From Pizza Bola on Market Street.
Pizza Bola.
In Harrisburg.
Uh-huh.
So that is Allison Hill, but I wasn't going to say, now you got it.
Are we playing the drinking game yet? How many times have you said Allison Hill?
So I wasn't even going to say that because I knew you'd go, oh, got it. I was going to let you say it. Anyway, so I have a piece of pizza.
Uh-huh.
I'm sitting in the community garden there. It's a beautiful community garden. You've probably seen the mural on the wall, some young people on. So I go walking out because this is in early September. And we did I think a beautiful thing. We did a community barbecue, Reservoir Park on the 16th of September. Terrence Webb was our band leader that night. We had the Scots, I'll get it wrong, the Scott School, positive rappers, young people. Anyway, so the point I'm getting to is, okay, now I'm walking down the street. I'm literally carrying flyers saying, hey, folks, come on down, come join us. I'm walking toward this group of 4 African Americans, 1 woman, 3 men, and I hear this guy say, you cannot live on $7.25 an hour. He didn't know who I was yet. So I'm walking out, man, I got to talk to these folks. I did for about 20 minutes. And at the end of it, I said, I asked, have you ever seen Scott Perry here on the streets? And of course, they all started laughing. I'm not joking. In unison, they all started laughing. And then one gentleman looks me in the eye and says, no, we've never seen Scott Perry on the streets here. We never will because Scott Perry doesn't care about us. So, and that's as bad as it gets for an elected official for people to say.
He comes to Hispanic Heritage Day.
Okay, well, good for him for that. Really, did he? I was there.
He will definitely take pictures at Hispanic Heritage Day.
Okay. I was there too for the big parade that we had that very morning, the 16th of September. We were there. And anyway, so.
But I appreciate the story because one, people are having a difficult time with not just, there is no mandate on yet, a federal mandate for a real minimum wage. And so you're left at the mercy of if people want to do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So
and that's just a bad
Could I just really highlight, that is one of my key issues.
Yeah.
And if you want to ask me what's the most important issue, that's it. In other words, education, training, that's all great, but it doesn't solve the problem initially. It's great for our children and so that they can, but we need a living wage. There's some studies out there done by MIT that say $15 an hour is not enough in this area. It needs to be $21 an hour. So that's what I'm putting out there is we need $21 an hour for a single person. For 2 people with 2 children, it's like between the 2 of them, $54 an hour is what it should be for a living wage.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to tell you about real quick is that I had some time talking to some other African Americans here in Harrisburg.
Was it Allison Hill?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. And in fact, we went to dinner and they wanted it to be outside of Harrisburg because they didn't want the whole world to talk about it. Seriously. So here's the point. They gave me so many good ideas. And here's the really important point. They said, Rick, affordable housing ain't good enough. We all say, oh, we need more affordable housing. We need more. Yes, we do. But they said affordable housing is not good enough. Section 8 housing is not good enough. Government housing is not good enough, Rick. What we really need as a community, as an African-American community, is a path to home ownership. And that's and I said, oh my God, you're absolutely right. That's been part of my key platform ever since.
Yes. Well.
And so what I'm saying is that we've got to increase wages to far beyond what they are now for those that are at the bottom of the scale to a living wage, $21 an hour, helps people to have financial peace of mind and puts them on the path to home ownership. One real quick other point on that. So I've done some homework.
I think he said 2 quick points.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I got
this. I have other guests.
I know you do. Okay. You tell me when to stop. Tell her when to stop. Last point for me is that you're in charge, not me. So I did some homework. There's a Black collaborative that's put together a 7-point plan on how to increase home ownership for Black people. And I've signed up for it. I've sent my email out. I've put that on our website. It includes counseling. It includes down payment help. It includes a number of other things. But I've absolutely said that's important for everyone to have that path to home ownership.
Absolutely. Okay. So this has been an enlightening interview. Did y'all come in time to say Alpha Hill? No. Y'all did disappoint me there. Y'all should have been counting. No, seriously. Thank you for coming back.
Yeah.
Thank you for talking more about these issues. I don't want you to think I was giving you a harder time than John. I just never interviewed him before. I just feel more comfortable.
It's all good.
So thank you.
I knew what to expect. Good hard questions.
Absolutely.
Very appropriate.
Of course.
Yep.
And I thank you for, visiting Allison Hill. I'm sure the people of Allison Hill thank you too. And Bola.
And lots of other places. Lots of other places.
Lots of other places.
Yep.
Good luck on the trail. And y'all please give it up for my guest, Mr. Rick Coplen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course.
Thanks very much.
And we'll be right back with our next guest.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Y'all should already know political people be talking, right? So we are back with a guest that I've wanted on the show for a long time, actually, Miss Christine Titih. I am so happy that you're here. We have so much to talk about, but before we get into all that, I just want to say Christine and I actually did see Scott Perry in person. Just want you to know there are sightings. So we did see him in person. I did ask him questions. I think you also asked a question. So we at least have one sighting between us. Okay. Just want to say that, we try to be fair and balanced on the Black NewsBeat, but we do talk about Black people and Black things. So welcome to the show, Christine.
Thank you.
You are not new to this. You are true to this. You are an author. You are what Maria refers to as you've written inspirational prose, but you have now released. Well, first, let's before we go into all your accomplishments, tell us a little bit about you, and what you tell us about you. What you want to tell us about you today?
Oh wow! Okay, that wasn't part of the questions we had planned. Okay, well, I'm Christine Titih. I'm originally from Cameroon. Let me get that off because I know some people are already thinking, wait, what did she say? What's her last name? Yes, I'm Christine Titih, originally from Cameroon. I've been in the United States of America for 14 years now, going to 15. Small business owner, author, community advocate.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are, community advocate. Yeah. Like I said, I'm busy, but sis give me a rival, okay? So I'm very glad to have you here. You are a published author, a small business owner. What's your small business?
City Home Care Services. We support adults with a diagnosis of intellectual disabilities. In the Greater Harrisburg area, we have a day program setting. We teach them skills. We take them out in the community to volunteer and all that fun stuff.
That's amazing. That's amazing work.
It is.
And you've written books that were inspirational prose, but now you've released.
I have.
And I see a copy on the table.
I come prepared.
Yes. You've released Our Voices, a collection of poetry and short stories. So why did you decide that now is the time to dive into this creative genre?
Well, I consider myself a storyteller. There are a lot of people that write because it's a business, it's a profession, but I write because it's a calling. I believe I'm called to share stories so as to bridge the gap, because there's a lot of, how can I say, division, among people from different cultural backgrounds and, different countries of origin. So our voices is really just sharing people's stories to know that we are all the same. There's a song I like that says we all bleed the same. I think sometimes we need that reminder that we all bleed the same grief you're feeling in America is the same grief someone in Africa is feeling. War is war, no matter where it is, So all those feelings, I try to capture them in this book with the hope that once we read it and we meditate on it, we feel a little bit more empathetical towards our next door neighbor. We don't feel like we are different. We feel like, hey, that's my brother, that's my sister. We may come from different backgrounds, but we are all the same.
Absolutely. I love that. That's beautiful. So what impact do you hope? So you talked a little bit about impact, but if you had one thing to choose out of here, I would say if there's something, I mean, it's your baby, so maybe you don't have a favorite, but what if you had something to choose that was probably the most impactful out of this work, what would you say it would be from your work?
Is that our voices really doesn't portray, it's written in the voice of the victim.
Okay.
So all the stories, the short stories, the poems are taken from the perspective of the person that is experiencing that particular emotion or that situation. Forget the setting, put yourself in the position of that person. And it's really, I just wanted to give a voice to the voiceless, give a platform to those that the victims, it's an intense book, if I can say so. I know authors, we like boasting about our books, but this is really a work of art, but it's also a lot of emotions in there. I tackle a lot of topics. I tackle on war, where I originally come from Cameroon. We're actually in civil war, but that's Africa, so we're used to all that stuff.
Wow.
I speak about rape. I speak about addiction, again, from the perspective of the victim. I read one of the poems once in Maryland, and it was about addiction, and someone came up to me who had that experience, and she was like, Christine, did you go through that? I said, no, I didn't go through that.
Wow.
Most of the stories, I didn't even go through any of them, but when you put yourself in that position of the victim, you start feeling what they're feeling. Wow. And I think that that's really what I want people to take out of that book. Feel what the other person is feeling. Yes. Because if you feel what the other person is feeling, then you make decisions that favor the other person and that favors you too. Wow. I think a lot of times we just think too much about ourselves, and that's why we are in the positions we are.
I love that. When you put yourself in others' shoes, you make decisions that favor them and you.
Yes.
I love that. That makes perfect sense to me. A lot of times, so I'm gonna listen.
You're gonna
Maria,
jump.
Maria really likes you because Maria wrote 100,000 questions for you. She likes you, okay? So a lot of times when Blacks settle here from other countries, there's conflict within the African American community. What do you think needs to bridge the gap? What do you think is needed to bridge the gap between these communities? And this is something that I've experienced as I'm a first generation American. My family's from Trinidad and Tobago. With people of Caribbean descent, people who come from Africa, people who are African American, people who are British African, African Brits. You name the cultural divide, especially when you come to this country. It is a recipe for just disaster.
It is.
Especially among the diaspora folks.
Yeah.
So what do you think can help bridge those gaps, especially here in this region? We have so many migrants from Caribbean countries, African countries. Yeah. So what do you think can help? And do you experience that here too?
Of course I do. Of course I do. I mean, I think we just need to hang out with each other.
I agree.
That's what I think. There's a lot of the core of that division is because we are first of all ignorant of the other person.
Yes.
We don't know what they have experienced. We don't know what they are experiencing in this country, and then we build those walls, and so we live on those ideas and that ignorance, and that affects our behaviors. Just connect with the other person. Keep aside what you think you know about what is going on and get to know your neighbor. Yeah. Get to really know them. When I moved to Harrisburg from Pittsburgh, I used to live on State Street. That was the first time I heard a gunshot across the window, and I was like,
wow.
okay, what's going on here? I was shocked that this, I'm serious. I was shocked that this was the capital. You know, I was like, what the heck is going on here? Is this really the capital? What's going on State Street? What's going on Market Street? What's going on Derry Street?
Yeah.
And I have to admit that I was guilty in thinking that, okay, Black Americans are lazy. You know, hey, we have to say, why are they sitting in front of their homes?
Yes.
Why are they not taking care of the neighborhood? Blah, 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 blah. It took me a while. And I think Sharia Ben is here. I had to sit in one of her shows, Wifika Center,
Yes.
where I've forgotten, I'm sorry, I forgot the title of that play that she did.
Was it the
That-
eighth word one?
What was it?
Was it the eighth word one?
Yes,
Yeah.
that was it. When she actually was
Voices
explaining,
of the eighth word.
it was
Yes.
exactly powerful show. I mean, and I did tell a lot of my African folks, I said, you need to go watch that play. You need to understand some of these things. That was
Yes.
when I realized that, oh, okay, something happened here.
Yes,
You
that's
know,
right.
African Americans were right there and someone displaced them.
That's right.
You know, breaking families, well, giving them nothing, peanuts.
Yes.
Now that when you get that understanding, you're like, okay, now I understand where this is coming from.
Yes.
And you are now like, okay, now you take away that ignorance you had before, and others saying, okay, people are lazy. No, people are not lazy. There's a system that's the issue. So we have to come together so we can fight the system instead of fighting each other.
I agree. Okay.
And sorry, let me
no, it's
just
okay.
let me just add this
They
point
all got something else
about
to add. Yes.
our African immigrants. Immigration is an issue in this country, and a lot of us, we don't know what it is like. A lot of times we feel, oh, somebody just decided to come here. You know, they are in our country, they are in our space, and we believe what people are saying, that they are taking jobs. Which jobs?
Which ones
Where are they? Where are they? I mean, let's just take our Central PA region. I don't see no African immigrant and executive somewhere. I don't see them as CEOs of corporations. I don't see them as vice presidents of some healthcare system or whatever. I don't see them. So which jobs are we talking about? They are working in warehouses.
Yeah.
They are working, they're doing care jobs. They're doing low level, minimum wage, whatever jobs. So what jobs are they taking? We have to start looking at this issue and say, well, somebody, yes, they left their country. They made that choice, most of them, to come here with the hope of a better life.
Absolutely.
They are contributing to the system. They are contributing to the economy. It doesn't mean because they came here free will that we have to now start calling them names and things. So we need to
I just
sit
want to
together.
speak to that.
Okay, so,
Because it's not just oh, we think people these ideas come from somewhere.
they do.
Right?
Yep.
And one of the places these ideas come from is the American government.
Yes.
The American government and American propaganda around the world has always portrayed African Americans as lazy.
Yeah.
That trope is built by the American government. Another thing that happens is the American government also pits Black Americans against foreign Blacks. So think
Very
about in the 1950s how they were like, well, shit, these Black people don't know how to read. So what do? They opened up the visa program finally, because they didn't at first, for Black Caribbean countries, because they were literate. They were literate post-slavery. They could read.
Yes.
And that is how, and people, 1955 is so far after slavery. Of course it is. But the effects of illiteracy of over generations is stark. It is fierce. It is horrible. And so people are like, well, why? African Americans have the worst literacy, blah, blah, blah. And they will talk all manner of shit without realizing that when you hold people back from, you literally terrify them out of reading. You kill them for trying to read. You kill them for trying to be literate, for numerate, and all these different things. It is going to trickle, not just trickle down, it's going to watershed down generations and generations.
Yes.
And so when you have Black people coming from other countries and they're illiterate, Trinidad is a great example from where my family's from. That country had emancipation 29 years before the United States, and slaves knew how to read. And they taught their children. Reading was normal. And people really take for granted the fact that literacy and numeracy in the Black community in the United States, it was literally kept from people on purpose. Even post Post slavery, you had to learn how to read to vote, and even if you learn how to read, they moved the goalposts again because they knew that black folks couldn't read coming out of slavery. They knew that most couldn't. So there's all these very dense historical things that are happening. Anyway, enough about that. But I just wanted to connect that piece because why are we being called lazy? Why are people being told in in New York? If you ever look up the term "drop a dime," drop a dime on an African or Black immigrant to rat them out to the police. That is what people in New York, Black Americans in New York, are trained to do. So. This sowing of enmity between Black and brown people in this country has a long, long history that is steeped in our government.
It is.
Anyway, honey, this one's deep. Okay, so that's right. Last question. Let's get back to the Oaks.
Okay.
So it is Women's History Month. I mean, first of all, let's clap it up for her and her amazing. I thought you were a fashion designer all this time. I was like, you're also, look at the glasses and the shirt and the just outfit, fashionable.
That's much.
Amazing. So what events does the Oaks have in store for Women's History Month? What have y'all been doing?
Well, we do have our Emerge Her Business Seminar and Expo taking place next week, Friday at Penn Harvest Hotel.
Which is a fabulous event.
It sure is. We have a keynote speaker coming all the way from Philadelphia, the African American Chamber of Commerce. We have a bunch of state officials coming to just share resources about businesses, how you start your business, what funding is available, what contracts are out there. Then we have vendors, our local vendors. Please come out to support these vendors, come out to get information. A lot of time you have Black businesses that complain that we don't have information, we don't have access to resources. Well, this is a program out there for you. You cannot go and be complaining. This is for us, by us.
That's right.
Yes. So please show up and be part of it. Get the information that you need. Connect. Again, I'm very strong on connecting because I believe we are our first helper. Come and connect with other Black minority women that are in business so that you also can grow. Like she mentioned, we have to get rid of some of those ideas we've been fed. That I always tell people, your competitor is not the Black business down the street.
Period.
Come on. How can that be?
That's right.
How can that be?
That's right.
They are in the same boat like you are. So you cannot be looking at that, that person down the street as your competitor. You instead have to look at that as a potential partner. Join together and say, okay, how do we now start fighting the other competitor?
I love it. Well, I am so glad I finally got to have you on the show. This has been a wonderful, wonderful interview. Please give it up for Miss Christine Titih. And please stick around. I got to get a picture with you. And I also want you to tell folks more about this wonderful program that's coming up next Friday. So please stick around. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Stick with us. We have one more amazing special guest. We'll be right back after a little message. Are you looking to broaden your skills in digital media creation? Are you looking to be a part of a great team? Well, we need you. The Black NewsBeat will be trying to fill various positions to help make our show a great success. We'll be looking for tech assistants to help on set. We'll be looking for writers to help write the show every single episode. Also need digital media assistants. Absolutely need some live audience coordinators. We'd love to open up these opportunities to high school and college students. We'd love for you to intern with us and learn more about the business and get your feet wet with a great company at Open Stage. So if you're interested, please let us know. We'll be taking applications via email. You can email us at Kimeka@kimeka.org. That's KIMEKA @KIMEKA.org. Hope to see you on the set soon. As a very special treat for you, we have the star of Mary Speaks. We have Miss Angela Polite. Oh my goodness. I think this is my first like main character in a play interview because I'm pretty sure that's right. I think I've had like the producers and other folks on, but this is very exciting. Like this is so cool. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So first, we are so excited to have you here at Open Stage, the home of the Good at Heart Festival. And we talked about that. It's named after Anne Frank, who, after all she's been through, still said people are good at heart. How does your play, Mary Speaks, fit into that idea?
Well, my play, Mary Speaks, is it's a work of, it's really a passion play for me.
And you wrote this play, correct?
I wrote this play, I conceived this play. I take the life of Mary, the mother of Jesus, who is probably one of the most well-known women in all of history, whether you're Christian or not practicing, everyone knows who Mother Mary is.
Yeah.
And I take her life and I use it as a parallel to Black mothers and how they have to raise their sons in an environment that sees them as a threat.
Wow.
So ultimately, my Mother Mary is a Black woman who is trying to keep her son from becoming a crucified Black body. And I think when it comes to the theme of the Good at Heart Festival, I have written this one as a part of my faith for some degree. And I think my faith leads me to know that although we are a mess right now as a society, I think that deep down inside, we know what's right, we know what's wrong. And I think people are intrinsically good. There's no part of me that believes that people were just made bad.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that's very good. That's amazingly said. Amazingly said. What inspired you to write this script from a perspective? So there's a lot of controversy around what Jesus looked like. Was he Black? Was he white? So as a Black woman, tell me what inspired you from that place to write this?
I was inspired. I started writing in 2015.
Wow.
If you recall, 2015 was a tumultuous summer. And we had, that was Michael Brown's summer. And prior to that, since 2012 with Trayvon Martin, we saw a rash of killings of unarmed Black men. Philando Castillo, we can start to name them. And so when Michael Brown's death happened, I remember reading the story. Two things happened. I saw an interview with his mother, and it was so sad to me that Trayvon's mother and several other Black mothers welcomed her in as if she was in a club. You know, you come to be a part of our club. And I remember reading the details about how his body was left out in the sun. They didn't even cover it up. His mother had sort of heard information that it might have been him. Yeah. And immediately for me, my mind went to the cross. I thought of the crucifixion, and I thought of Mary trying to get through to her son, and a light bulb went off. And I said, I have it. I know what this is. These Black mothers are Mary. These are crucified Black bodies. That's what this is. And I just started writing. And I just started writing.
Switching gears a little bit. So what came first for you? A love of teaching or a love of theater?
I think I have always inside been a teacher. I think that's always been a part of who I am. I moved to New York probably about 12, 15 years ago. I left a career in television.
Wow.
I used to work as a TV producer in Washington, D.C. I worked in front of the camera, behind the camera, but I always had this deep down love to do theater. And so it sounded crazy, but I resigned from my job and I moved to New York. And I started doing acting full time. And then to pay the bills, I started doing teaching artist work. And I realized that I was good at teaching little people and big people. And I went and got a second master's degree in education. And then I landed into a college, and somehow I began to balance being an actor and being an educator. And I love it because I think theater is education. And it's what we do. We come and we gather and we try to see ourselves on that stage, and we learn something and we leave.
I love that. I love that. So in that vein, you do a lot of work with students in public speaking and theater. So I bet this question is going to be easy for you. What do you tell a young person who is watching right now that is writing plays and they want to pursue this type of work?
I would tell them the best writing comes from what you know. I think as young people, you are always trying to look outside of yourself to find the stories, and we don't often value the stories that are right inside of us. As Sister Christine was just talking, so much of the African American experience and our history is literally trying to be erased in this country. And so people have this mindset and this perspective that their stories aren't important, but their stories are. And I think the best stories are the ones that come from you. You have an arsenal. I teach my acting students that you have to do life well before you can be a great actor, because you have things inside your arsenal that no one else has. And in order to create characters, you don't have to be the thing, but you do have to use some of the things. And so you have to use some of that to create your characters. That's why you can go to a play and you say, I do not connect this. This is not believable to me. You see acting that is empty because people haven't lived lives and they're not willing to use that.
Wow.
You know, I think you have to be very vulnerable to be an actor because it's ugly. It's not cute for me, and I don't mind being ugly because I'm using all of the things that have happened to create those characters and to really give you a real experience as an audience.
That's amazing. What's the hardest part of this production for you? And then what is probably the most amazing moment of this production for you?
I wouldn't say that it's hard, but I do know that in this production, I do feel very, very firmly that this is a calling. And so when I go on stage, I really carry this as a mantle, that this is a story that has to be pushed out and that I'm using all of who I am to tell the story. And so I do find that to be hard because I do have to use all of my emotions and I really have to let Angela go. And I can't be afraid to be vulnerable on stage and for it to be messy. So that part is hard because I do have to prepare to do that every night. And I think it's almost like ministry because you're pouring out of yourself in order to do that and you're leaving it there. And so you have to find other ways to fill yourself back up after you've poured out all of that. So I do find that to be hard. But what I find to be exciting and elating is people's connecting to the story and people really wanting to have the conversation afterwards, because that's what's the great part about telling this story is having the communal part at the end where people are being curious and they want to get proximate and they want to ask questions and it doesn't have to be right or wrong. So that part I like.
That's amazing.
That the people are moved.
That's amazing. So of course, everyone is going to come see Mary Speaks, right? Okay. So starting March 23rd, 4 days from now, Good at Heart Festival, Mary Speaks. And how do we find out about your upcoming performances?
You can find out about my upcoming performances by visiting the theater's website. And I am Angela Polite 1 on Instagram.
There's another Angela Polite? Aww.
But you're number one.
But you're number one. Okay. That's amazing. And so we can follow you on Instagram.
Yeah.
Do you have a website?
I do, gritsentertainment.com.
You say grits?
Grits.
Grits Entertainment.
Girl raised in the South.
I love that. I love that. I don't know about you guys, but now I am excited. I read all about it, but sitting across from you and this energy, I feel like this is going to be probably one of the best things I've seen in a long time. So I'm really excited. And I just want to give you your flowers too. This is groundbreaking work. This is history-making work, historic work. And just from sitting across from you, I cannot tell you how my brain is buzzing. My life is shifting right before your eyes. You don't even know it. Just from feeling your energy and feeling what you're putting out here. So thank you for that.
Thank
And
you.
happy Women's History Month.
Yes,
Thank you
happy
for
Women's
making this
History.
happen.
Yes.
I know you guys are already clapping, but please give it up for Miss Angela Polite. Yeah. And we thank you guys for sticking with us. We have one last thing to do, and we'll be right back with last lap. We're getting out of here.
Call 911. I'm just gonna apply some pressure, okay?
When minutes matter, you have the power to save a life. Learn more at minutesmatter.upmc.com.
So much. Well, this has been quite the evening. I am so happy you guys stuck this through. You know, we've had such a thick night. But I want to close us out on a serious note. The conflict in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine is still going on. And we, as a country and as a people, we've risen to the call. We have, raised awareness. And so I just want to keep doing that, especially in this important time. So I just want to start with some facts. More than 32,000 Palestinians and about 1,200 Israelis have been killed since October 7, 2023. Nearly all of Gaza's 2.3 million population have been displaced, leading to a significant humanitarian crisis. The conflict has led to widespread destruction across the Gaza Strip, including damage to over half of Gaza's homes. International reactions have been polarized, with significant support for Israel from the United States, contrasting with widespread denunciation in the Islamic world and the global South. So now I have a few questions, given that information. If Anne Frank were to ask about the current conflict between Israel and Hamas, her questions might reflect her deeply humanistic perspective and her hope for peace and understanding among people. Here are 3 questions she might ask. How can individuals on both sides of the conflict find a way to empathize with each other's suffering and work towards a peaceful resolution? What actions are being taken by the global community to ensure the protection of innocent civilians caught in the crossfire? And in the midst of this conflict, are there stories of kindness and humanity that remind us of our shared desire for peace and safety? And I just want us to sit with that, especially as we go into this week, because from the local to the national to the international, conflict is everywhere. And how do we move past it for a better world? How do we do it? And that's the end of our show. Thank you guys for coming tonight. Thank you for taking part in this, from the political to the personal to the art to the everything. Thank you for being here with us. And I will see you next week, Wednesday. We'll be at Elementary Coffee for our community episode. Be kind to yourselves, love on yourselves, clap for yourselves. And we'll see you next week. Good night.